Well, thanks for being here, everybody. Today we're talking about how to decide if you have a real buyer. And let me just ask you, what's been your experience with buyers so far? I mean, how do you are they easy to work with, hard to get? What are you experiencing? And Tiara, I know you've worked with a bunch of them. What are you experiencing?
Some of them want to go view houses before they have their pre-approval, and I know that's a big no-no.
Yes, and we're going to talk about how to structure some of that and how to avoid some of that in this exercise. So you have to put yourself in the mind of a buyer, okay? They just want to see a house. They're not thinking about anything about financing or what's important to the real estate agent. They don't care about any of that. So we have to put ourselves in their shoes, but you still want to be able to take charge of this appointment in a way that makes sense. So I'm going to have us all repeat this a few times, and I know this is not first grade, but this is important, and I'm going to say it first. Buyers that buy, buy. Buyers that don't buy, don't buy. However, buyers that buy take every relevant step along the way. How do you know if you've got a buyer or not? They take the relevant steps. If they don't take the relevant steps, it doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means they're not a buyer, or certainly not a buyer for you. So let's all say that together. Buyers that buy, buy. Buyers who don't buy, don't buy. However, buyers that buy take every relevant step along the way. One more time. Buyers who buy, buy. Buyers who don't buy, don't buy. However, buyers that buy take every relevant step along the way. So, assuming that is true, all we need to know is what's the relevant steps, okay? And because most buyers, they don't know there's relevant steps. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So we have to be the one to guide them. So here are those relevant steps. And you've all got the handout. So first step is they make an appointment to meet with you. And they keep that appointment and show up. If they called about a particular home, you can agree to show them that home after you're meeting with them. Now, so point number one, they agree to have a meeting with you. Now, this could be, in these days, post-COVID, this might even be a Zoom meeting, and that would be okay. It'd be hard to show them a home with that, but if a Zoom meeting is okay because you're face-to-face and you're going to get a feel for them and they're going to get a feel for you. So they keep the appointment and show up. I know every one of you, and Melissa, you will, and Jack, you will, you're going to have buyers that make appointment with you, and they're a no-show. They're not only a no-show, they don't have the courtesy to call and say they're not coming. So, Tara, have you had that experience?
Not yet.
All right, good. Christine, I'm sure you have over the years.
Yeah, so, yes. Say you make the appointment, this is my best suggestion, okay? Probably within, like if you have an afternoon appointment, maybe follow up that morning to confirm that they're coming. Hopefully during that appointment time, you already learned what's their best way of communication, if they prefer text, email, or phone. And then you do it their way and just say, hey, I'm just confirming we're going to meet today at 2 o'clock at such and such time. Please give me a thumbs up if it's a text or something like that to confirm it. If you get crickets, so if you do that in the morning, you have the 2 o'clock, by noon you're not hearing anything, chances are they're not going to show up, but I would shoot out one more way of contact, maybe change it up and do a phone call if they like text or whatever, and just say, hey, I'm going to be heading that direction an hour prior to our meeting at this location. Are you going to be here? Make it sound like, hey, this is so bad. Play on their guilt, like, hey, I've got an hour commute to get to that location to meet with you. Are you coming? Please confirm. Or we can reschedule, give them a back out at that point. Don't give them a back
Yeah,
out in the morning.
I wouldn't. I would do what she's suggesting, where you're confirming the appointment. I would just add something that will make them excited. For example, are we just wanted to make sure we're still good for our 2 o'clock appointment? I've come across some really exciting things I want to share with you, and chances are they want to know what that is, and the chances are they're going to show up. Christine gave the example. There's some people that they're no show, no call. Well, those people with me and what I'm recommending to you, they get one more chance. Meaning, I mean, who was it? Was it Tiara or somebody in here? I'll think of who it was in a minute. But here's somebody's excuse. My windshield wipers weren't working and it was raining. It was somebody in this office a few months ago. It was, and so, I mean, just crazy stuff. Gave them another chance. They were no-show again. So my counsel was just drop these people. Not bad people, just not a buyer. If they're, there's going to be, now rates have been stable and moving both directions the last few weeks, but over the next few months, you're going to start see them moving down, and the more the rates move down, buyers are going to come out of the woodwork. And so they're not, I don't want to say they're all not valuable, but if people are not going to take the relevant steps, they're not a buyer, okay? Not a bad people, just not a buyer. So now, let's assume that you're in a meeting with them, and now that, again, it could be on a Zoom, but it's hopefully here at the office. You do not meet people at an open house, or you don't show up to show people a house you've never met. So, especially the ladies, this is a security issue. You never meet somebody for the first time. I don't care if it's husband and wife. You have them meet you somewhere neutral first, so you can get a feel if you're good with them, or if there's the slightest hesitation. You back off and just say you all of a sudden the people canceled the appointment or something, but you get yourself out of the situation. Now, rarely in my 35 years in this business, I've only had 2 situations with my agents where it was really, really scary, and one was downright dangerous. So it's not. That's after tens of thousands of appointments. There's been a couple, but you don't take a chance. You just don't take a chance. So
you
please.
You can reach out to me. So I know a lot of agents and a bunch of different brokerages, but I have some really close friends, and even when they're working with a buyer and they're going to like remote areas, they might feel good, but like I had an example about a month ago, one of my dear agent friends reached out and said, Christine, I'm getting the wonkies about this buyer coming back into town. Will you come with me to show the property? I'm throwing it out there. I'll come with anybody. Not that I carry a gun or anything, but numbers help.
Exactly, and that's
did you hear that? Okay.
Yeah. So it's the exact.
Oh, well, then we're going with her.
That's the exact strategy. So if that was Melissa, you might call Jack or Jordan, or it could be Denise. It can be 2 gals. That's because there's safety in numbers. That's the point. And you just don't take a chance. It's just so. The underlying message: you never meet somebody at a house you've never met. Period. Okay. So
another thing too, I've heard of people asking, like if you're like if it's a man and he wants to go and meet you at a house. I mean, it can be a woman, but mostly she makes sure she gets a copy of his driver's license.
Yes.
Before that appointment.
You can absolutely do that, and where agents get trapped is somebody calls up and said, hey, I'm a cash buyer. I have to buy in the next 3 days, and I want to see this house on 123 Main Street. It's 10 miles out of town or something, and you want that deal. So you're so tempted. Don't be tempted. Just stick to the protocol that you're not, you just don't do it. Could you lose the sale? So what? It's not it could be life and death. So, I mean, I'm not trying to scare any of you, but I just want you to be smart and always trust your gut. Now, in this, I'm getting way off track here, but when you're showing a home, a great strategy is always to have your keys in your hand. If you got into a situation you're not comfortable with, you could hit your alarm button on your car and it starts going off and making all kinds of noise. That's a strategy. Elizabeth, she carries, for example, and somebody else in here, was it Crystal that does?
I mean, I've got.
I carry.
Everybody should. Have you seen the news in the last 10 years?
Yeah.
I know. So I don't have a recommendation for that or not, but my point is just be safe. It's just too important.
So I'm going to show you something, because I was married to an ex-Memphis police officer. When you're holding those keys, I'm going to use their keys. You should always hold your keys like this. So if somebody, and believe it or not, guns are great for people who know how to shoot. I probably shoot myself by accident, but hold your keys like this, because if they come at you, you just jab it in their eye. Just go for it.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, it's true.
There is some other things you can do.
I mean, some of our ladies have mace, and there's lots of, so that's a whole different, there's a safety class that we'll have experts come in, and they have all kinds of goodies they can sell you, but it's great feedback. So we got to move on. So assuming they're here physically, now they're open with you. They give you details about what they want and why it's important. Now, some people are going to say, well, I want 3 acres, okay? Why do they want 3 acres? Do they just want it, because it sounds good? Or do they have 50 goats? I don't know. I'm just making that up. But why do they want 3 acres? Could it be 1 acre? Could it be 2 acres? Or maybe you find 5 acres, but just you want to question it, not to drill them or anything. Your job is to understand their needs. The more you understand their needs, the more and sooner they're going to trust you. You want to understand the need and be able to repeat it back to them as, kind of a synopsis, if you will, as the appointment goes on. So after you get all those things, how many bedrooms, they need garage, and all those normal things that you're going to ask, then I want you to ask these questions, okay? First, what is your experience buying a home before? Now, you're going to get a couple answers. In our market here, we get a lot of first-time home buyers. So you're going to get some people that say, well, this is our first-time home. We've never bought a home before. Say, awesome. You're in good hands. I want you to know that. Now, let me digress from that role play, if you will. What does that tell you about how you have to handle this buyer if they're a first-time home buyer?
Probably have to make some suggestions on the process.
Yes.
You're their hand the whole way.
You're going to, thank you, Jack and Denise. You're going to hold their hand. You're going to explain terminology, for example. So what is, it's just, and we have dozens of terms like that. And so they don't know what that means, and they're most likely not even going to ask because they don't want to appear that they don't know. So the more lockbox is another great one. So a lot of people, if now maybe it's their first time selling a home, they don't know much about what a lockbox is. So you can take it and show them what one is, how it works, why it's safe, that you can set hours, and all the things you can tell them about a lockbox. But if you just start talking about a lockbox and they don't know what it is, you're just not taking as good of care of them as you can. So what experience have you had buying a home before? Well, let's say maybe this is their second or third home. I always want to ask, what worked well? What you're really asking is here, what happened? How was that experience? Okay? And then you're going to follow up with what could have made the process easier for you. Now, that's a nicer way of asking, what got screwed up?
Yeah.
You know, what got screwed up? What didn't you like? And you could do that. Okay, here's some things you liked about the process. Here's some things you didn't like. And that's fine, too. Just be that direct with them. What didn't you like? And you need to listen very carefully to both B and C, because that's when they're going to tell you exactly how you need to work with them. Okay? If you understand what they liked and what they didn't, all you have to do is mirror that. I'll never forget, I had an agent a long time ago, this was in California. We had just talked about this, and so when he was on his listing presentation, one of the pages in the listing presentation was about open houses. And so he was smart enough to say, you know, people have different opinions about open houses, and we can do them or we can not do them. It depends on how you feel. These people said to him, I hated open houses. There's only so many Sundays you can go to Grandma's house. That was this client's exact words. We're never going to do an open house again. Now, 2 weeks before that, he would have gone in selling open houses, and those people are not going to buy it. You know, so the point is, you ask the questions about, and that's just open houses is kind of a random point. So then, after, you know, and feel them out. What else? What worked? What didn't work? D, I just had a coach that wrote a book, and I just got this question from him the other day. He said, you should always ask, have you considered using that agent again? Okay? Now, most of the time, it's going to be no. Agent didn't follow up, they didn't like him that well, or even if it was a good experience and the agent never followed up, they're going to be kind of blank about it. Now, if they happen to say, well, we're thinking about it, we loved working with Stacy, she was great, and so then you just get into it, okay? How are you going to decide whether you work with Stacy, who's a great agent? I don't care if it's a RE/MAX agent. She's a great agent, or how are you going to decide whether you work with her or work with me? And shut up and wait for the answer. And it may be, you may find out, well, we just wanted to see this particular house, and if we like it, we're going to call Stacy. Okay? You will get that. And your experience?
Yes, I've experienced that.
Yes. We're going to.
They will use you.
They will, and they don't see our time as valuable. Usually they're not trying to be rude, but they just don't understand. So in that case, you say, well, it wouldn't be appropriate. So you're Stacy's client. It would not be appropriate for me to show that home. Do you want me to reach out to her and have her call you, or do you just want to call them? And then your meeting is essentially over. Okay? No harm, no foul, but you didn't waste your time showing a house that they're going to go call another agent and to write it up. So as we go forward this year, because of the commission lawsuits, because of the United States Justice Department sticking their nose in our real estate business, things are going to change. And we are going to be mandated to get exclusive buyer agreements signed. Now, we're not ready to do that yet, because if you ask for one and the last 3 agents didn't, you look like you're doing something inappropriate. But at some point, everybody's going to have to do it, and then it's a level playing field. And we'll be changing this and giving you good guidance on how to ask the right questions to get that thing signed. But we're not there yet. So, and then, have you considered using that agent? And then, if they have a house, do you currently have a home to sell before the purchase? What you're trying to figure out here, is there any contingencies? okay? Is there anything that would stop you from buying? If you found the perfect home today, are you able to buy it? Well, maybe not, because I've got it. Well, we got to sell ours first, or you're gonna find out. But this is your job in that initial meeting to see where they stand, and is there anything going to block you from moving forward with these people? And they're all professional questions. They're not none of it's offensive. It's just the things you need to know. Okay? So, moving on. So, once they've answered those questions, then they let you counsel them. And here's where I suggest to you that you give them the facts of life, okay? Here's what I mean, facts of life about the price range they're looking in, okay? You tell them about the need, this is maybe not the best place for this, but you can tell them about the need of proof of funds statement when they find a home to make an offer on. So where I'm going with that is what are the facts of life? Well, these might be people thinking that they're going to make a lowball offer, and maybe they'll tell you that. But in the facts of life, what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, they're looking in Columbia at $300,000. Well, if they go make an offer $270, $300, they're going to get laughed out of the room. It's not going to happen. Now, if it was a $600,000 house and they want to make $130,000, $40,000 low, that might work. But you know the market because you get our stats and so forth. Last week we broke that market down, remember, on how many weeks or how many months of inventory by price band. So the more you know about your market, the better. But my point is, you want to get across to them, this is not a market. If it's 300 and down in Columbia, this is not a market you can make an offer in. You're going to pretty much have to pay full price or a little over full price. Now, you're going to get people say, I'm never going to pay full price. Okay? Doesn't mean they're bad people, but they might not be your buyer. Okay? Because how many offers are you going to write where they're coming in $30,000, $40,000 low and you're getting beat out every time or getting rejected? So now, some people, so if it was Melissa, for example, who's new to the business and hasn't had a lot of experience yet writing offers, if I were you, I might go ahead and write that offer, even though it's a low offer. And what's going to happen is it's going to get rejected, but you've got experience writing the offer and figuring out a counter offer or not. And then if you'll do that 2 or 3 times, they're going to learn. They're not going to get a house. It's not, if somebody's going to sell a house $40,000 under list price, chances are the listing agent will buy it. Okay, if it's that good of a deal, it won't make the open market. So I'm digressing a little bit from my script here, but my point is, you want people, when you're telling them the facts of life, that's the way it is. Now, if we're in a market where you've got 10 months of inventory, that's a whole different ballgame. You can tell people there are, if this seller won't take your lower offer, there might be 10 other sellers that we could go and they might take it. So, but we're not in that market today. We're still in a seller's market in Columbia under 300,000 and probably up to 350. So, but this is the time to tell them they can't be making ridiculous offers. If you wait until they find the perfect home and then you tell them, now you're just being a salesperson. Okay? Well, of course, she just wants to, Tiara, she just wants me to pay full price because she'll get more money. If you don't tell them ahead, when you tell them ahead of time and they haven't found a house they fell in love with, you're counseling them. If you tell them after they find the house they're falling in love with, you're being a salesperson. And you're just gonna have to remind them. But that is the way the market works right now. And so you need to be able to tell them that. Now, this is new to this. I've had some counsel from a lot of friends that do this. right there in that meeting, let's say you have your lender is, Teresa Sapicki, for example, great lender, right here in Columbia, and you have her standing by. You've already sent her the Zoom link, and you could just say, look, I've got a lender standing by, and let's just get some quick numbers, and you can and they're going to say, yeah, sure, it's fine. And then you get them on the Zoom together, and just be courteous. Ask them if they'd rather that you step out of the room while they're talking about some of this personal stuff. Usually they'll say, no, it's no big deal. But ask, at least ask, and then you step out. So later, as that's wrapping up, hopefully, your lenders, Teresa would be good enough. She'd be quickly getting a Social Security number from them, and she wouldn't ask for that the first minute, but during this process she will. It might be a 5 or 10 minute call. She's going to ask them where they work, how long they've been there, things like that. If they'll give them the Social Security number, she's going to run their credit right there, and we'll know what their credit score is. When I say we, it'll be the customer and Teresa, and then Teresa's going to be, depending on how the credit is and the income is, she's going to be able to make a recommendation. What kind of loan? Is this an FHA loan? Is it VA? Is it USDA? Whatever it might be. And then when you step back into the room, if you haven't been there the whole time, you just say, Teresa, what's your guidance? How can I help these people best? And she's going to lay out exactly what you should be doing. So very clean, very smooth. Now, it's even better if Teresa happens to be here. But sometimes that just doesn't work out. Teresa might worry, is your customer even going to show up? And so you just, if you can make it in person, that's great. But if not, do the Zoom. Now, she's going to be able to counsel you on price range, program, and so forth. Now, here's where they agree to have your lender call them. Here's what happens to most of you. You ask the question, you give them a couple cards. Here's two great lenders, and you call and get pre-qualified. Now you'll say it better than that, but and here's what's going to happen. You're going to check in with these lenders 2 weeks from now, and they never called. So what you want to do is get their permission for the lender to call them. Your lender will follow up. He or she wants that loan, so they're going to follow up. And if your people are cooperative, they're going to get them the financial statements, maybe they need tax returns, maybe it's W-2s, 1099s, whatever it might be. And if your people are cooperating, then that's one of the relevant steps to getting themselves pre-approved. So it's a very, very important component of all this. Now, in number 5, I make the point, this is important even if they've been approved by another lender, especially an internet lender. And I know some of us were in a meeting a few weeks ago, we talked about this, but it bears repeating. If they come to you with a loan approval from Rocket Mortgage or Quicken Loans or any of these big internet lenders, you want to make sure that they get pre-qualified with your lender as well. Now, if the internet lender can deliver at the end when it's ready to close and they have a better deal than your preferred lender, they can close with them. It's not a problem. But the problem you have in the meantime is you can't reach anybody at Rocket Mortgage and ask them about Bill and Mary Smith from Columbia, Tennessee. They're clueless. They don't know who to send your call to. It's just trying to get a human is next to impossible. So the point is, you don't know. They might even have a piece of paper that says they've been pre-approved or they're pre-qualified or something. Just take the time and get your lender to do it as well. And you can explain why. Your lender has a relationship with you and doesn't want you ticked off. So they're going to do the follow-up and make sure these people are good to go. And once again, maybe your lender has a better deal and they can close there, or if they can close with Rocket Mortgage, more power to them. But it puts you in charge and you in control. Without that, you're just out showing property on a whim and a prayer and a hope. And maybe it'll work out, but try convincing a listing agent that you've got this letter from Rocket Mortgage that they're pre-approved, and most listing agents, they're going to think it's not worth the paper it's written on. So the experience in this business, internet lenders, all they're selling is rate. And so what they don't tell you is, oh, yes, you're approved, but then when it comes time to close, well, did you pay off that car? There are all this other junk that, so anyway, I don't need to beat the point into the ground, but you take charge. And again, if they won't cooperate, now let me give you, if they come to you with a local lender approval, I'm gonna really think that's probably legit. Maybe that letter came from Teresa, or maybe it came from the bank next door or something. If it's a local Nashville recognized lender, it's probably good. Okay, it's just the concern is your internet lenders. So that's the point. So, Christine, any experiences to share?
So when you're talking to these buyers, because they're going to push back, well, I don't want my credit report pulled again or whatever. And so usually they have, and you can always keep up to date because I'm not a loan officer, but there's usually at least a 30-day period where a person can get their credit report pulled
For a mortgage inquiry.
For mortgage only, and say, do you know when your credit report is pulled? So that's one of the things to try to ease that, because you will get pushback on that. People are always like, we're teetering. Are you teetering on a credit score? Because it only knocks it down like 4 points or something like that. But then within 30 days, it pops it back up. So where's their timeline? So it can get a little bit more. But the best thing to do is introduce them to your lender, and your lender will go through all this. Because you sell homes, not loans. So saying that, if they're still giving you pushback, this is another thing I used to say. Here's the best thing to do. Since you're in the 30-day time period and everything, you can simultaneously apply for loans for both companies.
That's right.
And make them competitive and see which one's going to give you a better deal, because it only matters when you're going to lock in. So these internet lenders are doing the days right, and they're just number next. They're not even getting into the detail of the personal experience isn't there, and that not only as a sales agent you don't have communication with them, or as a realtor, but a lot of buyers are finding out that they don't get communication with them, because all they chop them down. Next. So
I got something to say too on that. So it's super important to get them paired up with your lender, and a lot of pushback you'll get is like, especially with the internet loans, well, I already have a lender, why do I need to contact your lender? Well, the way you can kind of sell that through is when you don't know that you have a good deal or not, because you don't have a loan to compare to. So here's my lender, a personal relationship, and you can compare side by side with his rates.
Great point.
That way you know you're getting a good deal. Then they're like, oh, okay, well, I hadn't thought about that. Boom, now they're calling your lender, or your lender's calling.
yeah, because
so
now you're
that's
giving them
huge.
the option to shop.
Right.
And that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
And so,
but the point is to get them with your lender, because them internet lenders and stuff, they don't go through the red tape, and they drag things out, and by the end of the day, your client's pissed because they didn't say, or they didn't do what they said they were going to do originally.
Right.
And now you got to fight the whole thing.
And they rarely close on time. They rarely close on the day, or not only the date, but the terms change at the last minute. It's just a mess. So you would think in this day and age, the internet age, you would think they'd have that really well figured out, but they don't. So
I'll make one comment.
Please.
Because I have to run here in a couple of minutes too about that. I have, and as realtors, that we're every lender's best friend. So when I've been out networking, I usually have somebody, hey, let's have coffee, which is great. And I have, some lenders they have a specialty or a niche too. And sometimes
Yes.
I usually say, well, what are you pitching? What is your product? And sometimes you'll want to have, let's say it's a manufactured home. Sometimes they'll say, this person works with manufactured home buyers all the time, or new construction, and you feel like they're the experts. And so it's not necessarily always having one lender. I try to figure, and sometimes it's a personality thing.
Sure.
I kind of want to pick somebody who I know is going to kind of sync with my client or with their special needs, or they working with VA or whatever. And sometimes, so it pays to build relationships with different lenders. Like I have
And know
one-
their niches.
and know what their niche is. And I have a lender that I love, and he's done this. He's been in the business a long time, and he did a lot of the online kind of stuff before he got into it. But I'll call him and I say, hey, will you call my client? And can you meet? He's willing to meet. But I want to know who that lender is, because I've had one couple. I mean, like the guy's like, oh, I'm not. I called the guy and he had no personality. It was like, are you there? And if you're working with banks and you want to get something done like on a weekend, sometimes that can be really tricky too.
Yes.
And have somebody in your pocket that's willing to work kind of 24/7. None of us want to work that, but some lenders are like, I'm there for you, and they'll call, I'm available all weekend if you need help.
And usually that's going to be your mortgage brokers, mortgage bankers, as opposed to a Wells Fargo banker or a Chase bankers. They've got their niches, Wells and Chase, especially for your more affluent clientele. Chase has phenomenal programs for $1 million. People can qualify for $1 million loans, but you're not going to get that guy on a weekend. You're not, so the point is that Denise is making is right on the money. You should have 3 or 4 lenders that you know, and just know their personalities and their niches. So that being said, I think you just, I know we're spending a lot of time on this lender stuff, but they can make or break your deal.
It's crucial.
They are crucial. The reason you want them to go to your lender is your lender has a relationship with you, Denise, and they can't drop the ball. An internet lender, they don't know who Denise is, they don't care. They will drop the ball, and so your local lenders won't do that. And if they do, they're not going to be your lender.
At 5 o'clock, they're clocking out, and good luck getting them, and that is no good for you, because you need them to answer the phone at 6:30, 7:30, 8:30 sometimes. That's just the way it is.
I hate to run, but I got to run.
Nope, you're good. And we've got I've got one more for it'll take about 10 minutes. Denise, you're good to go. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's great.
And we...
I'll have to watch the tail end of the video.
Well, we're going to wrap this one because the rest of it's really common sense. Your number 8, 9, and 10. So it's simple stuff. But the big thing to remember, buyers that buy, buyers that don't buy, but buyers that buy take every relevant step along the way.
Yep.